Dig this.
Hello?
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
All right. What is up? We are here with Aubs, or as you may know him, Aubrey Barnes.
Yeah.
What up, man?
Not much, man. I'm feeling great, man.
Hell yeah.
I feel like I made it. Like I told you, like this is like the U.S. Olympics of podcasts in the Quad
Cities. Don't burst my ego like that.
I'm saying, man, I really think that, man.
Thank you, dope. Man. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I wanted to squeeze you in.
Yeah,
Episode number 10, motherfuckers.
Yeah, number 10, double digits. I made double digits.
We're crawling along.
Yeah. I graduated in like 2010, so like I feel like there's some kind of vibrations behind that. Something special about that. 2010.
Ooh.
Yeah, there has to be something there.
Sacred podcast.
Yeah, whatever y'all pick out. Yeah, just share it.
Hell yeah. So what's up with you, man? What's new?
Man, there's a lot of stuff, man. I'm still doing artist stuff, like just doing stuff in the poetry realm. I think in the last couple months, I've been more focusing on kind of developing other like spoken word artists and helping them with their craft and all that stuff, as opposed to like performing myself. I still do the little performances like in town or outside of town and shit like that, but I've been more focused on like just like helping spoken word artists to kind of grow that community here. So I've been hella busy with that, which is cool because that means there's a lot of people who are interested in doing that stuff. So busy with that, kind of busy with kind of like planning some projects and stuff that I have going on next year that are kind of outside the poetry realm. I'm kind of dabbling in like short film writing and shit like next year. And I'm actually have another podcast that I've been working on with a team of people that I'm having start next year called Black Thoughts, which should be a pretty dope ass one. I think I'm really excited for that podcast. So I've just kind of like been trying to be more organized since I have my mentor's kind of been really kind of on me with about just like having shit in order, knowing what you're going to do in the future, having stuff planned out, which has been great. It's just been a different ass kind of like realm, you know, just kind of like having to plan out shit years in advance.
Yeah.
But I've been busy with that, and obviously just work, school, and just trying to find rest in the middle of it. Just trying to find those meditative times, man.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Hell yeah! And for those who don't know, yes, Aubrey is a spoken word artist, poet, also podcast host.
Yeah.
Right now, currently co-hosting Ode To The Underdog podcast.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon, man.
Shout out Brandon Carlton. Yes, we had him on a bit ago.
Yeah, you guys did.
Episode 4.
Yeah, you guys did have him on. Yeah. That was dope. Yeah, he's the brains behind that thing, man. I literally just thought of him. It's funny because Ode To The Underdog, I was actually going to write a project, like actual just like spoken word, like rap project called Ode To The Underdog.
Yeah.
But I was kind of iffy about it. I'm like, man, I don't know what this would look like. I don't really got the concept completely down. And the day we started talking, he's like, oh, he just asked, like, do you have any names for the podcast? I was like, yo, let's do Ode To The Underdog.
Yeah.
I was like, I had this for a project. He's like, oh, you're sure you want to use it? Like, yeah, man, use it. So,
you could still do like an album.
Yeah, maybe it would make it. Like, yeah, maybe it would make it even like better because people were like, oh, Ode To The Underdog. Let's listen to that. But
right.
Maybe, yeah, that's always in the plans.
Right. Have you ever hosted any other podcasts in the past, or is this your first one?
This is my first one. Yeah, we started this one off like last year. And like I said, Brandon wanted to do something to kind of just highlight kind of the Quad Cities to kind of break that stigma that people have that we still hear to this day, which is I think is a whole bunch of BS about how terrible the Quad Cities is.
And for whatever reason they give, it's just like dumb reasons.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, well, come on, honestly. You could
There's not fun stuff here. This isn't like
find
Chicago.
Like plenty of good reasons.
Yeah.
I've heard people just throw out like the reasons against it, like dumb like economic reasons, you know, well, job growth percentage is down and whatever. Like,
exactly.
Like, well, dude, because y'all left.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know as far as, jobs, like who cares? I mean,
yeah.
What do you want? We got factory jobs and shit anyway, right?
Got John Deere,
as in steady jobs. It's like you can get a steady job in this city.
Heck yeah.
And that's not what I want. And I'm still here for other reasons, like the art and culture type side of it, which is flourishing right now, if you ask me.
Hell yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's crazy.
Grown a lot in the past however many years, I think.
Yeah. You know what? That's like, I think the most, I hear people move the most for that reason. Just like, okay, art-wise, I can't grow here. I can't do anything here.
And if they want to be like an artist, like get a job as an artist, that's hard. They usually have to go to another bigger city. Oh, I'm a graphic designer in like, LA or fucking whatever, audio engineer in like Nashville or something like.
And that's the thing too. I think when people think about like just, especially just around here, like wanting to do artistry as like a job, like a full-time thing, it's definitely like it's a possible thing. Because I mean, you've seen Torian Ball, like, he's one that's doing it. Xavier, I think, is one that's doing it as well. and I forgot the third guy who's also doing it. But anyway, just like it's a possible thing. But like, I think for me, just being in the artist realm, I'm always looking at different things I can do to make shit full time for me. Like I'm not just looking at performing, doing stuff as an artist. Like I said, I'm getting into like short film writing for some people outside of like the Quad Cities and all that. Doing podcasts and like doing stuff like that, you got to be able to just open up your realm. So like the fact that people like move because they like want to be full-time artists, like you can do that. You just got to find like different outlets too. Like
you're right. Yeah,
unless you're like dope, like super dope, like dope, like K-Dot or J. Cole dope, but
right.
You got to find different realms, I think.
I mean, like shit like John Deere and whatever like made this area like big as far as like as big as it is now, you know.
Yeah.
Industry and shit. It's like I'd like to see a growth in like the arts and culture side as far as like where people could like go to school for like, you know, fucking art or music and then be like, oh, there's actually a lot of job potentials for that in this QC area or something, you know. That'd be really dope.
Yeah, honestly. I think that'd be super dope, man. I think we're on our way to that. Like just with like you said, like the growth of artists we've had like the last few years has been crazy. Like the crazy amount of rappers.
I think more
bands.
of the like people who are on bullshit or other artists sometimes that are just like not about it, you know. Those are getting filtered out kind of too, you know. Like,
yeah,
more genuine artists now.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
So
yeah, that is
really
true.
Dope.
It's super dope for sure.
Now, so as a poet, do you just do poetry, or do you write stories? Have you written any other things?
I think this year has kind of been my challenge of just getting into other things like writing, more so like haikus and writing short poems, because a lot of my poems are written from like a performance aspect, and I try to make it so that, because I know my audience, like a lot of them are those people who are more like literary savvy and like the kind of read material. So I try to write in a way where it has kind of this duality where like if it's being performed, it's dope. If you read it, you still kind of get the dopeness that you would be able to get as if it was being kind of just read and you didn't have anything in front of you. But poetry is my biggest thing. I do a little rap too. Like it's kind of like I do it like as a creative outlet. Like whenever I like want to write something or anything like that, it's never anything big. Like just to kind of have that thing, kind of to exercise that creative outlet. But rap is the reason why I started doing poetry. Like I tell people, like that's my, like I always kind of feel like an oddity kind of in the kind of spoken word poetry realm, which is kind of like predominantly white, you know, because in those realms sometimes there's people who are influenced by Edgar Allan Poe's, Shakespeare's, even Edgar Guest, or just like your more modern like spoken word artists too. And I've never really like listened to any of those guys, or really just I listened to them for maybe like for a period, you know, like in school when you had to read that shit.
Right.
That's the only time like I ever gave those things like kind of a place to kind of breathe in my life. But for the most part, what influenced me to write poetry was 6th grade when I heard Nas, Made You Look. That was my first time ever hearing rap, and like hearing people like Nas, Missy Elliott and shit like that. I was like, man, like this is dope, but I don't think I could ever do it, so I'm gonna write poetry. I started doing that in 6th, 7th grade.
That was why like that you decided to do poetry instead of just going into like I'm just gonna be a rapper or something.
Yeah, I think because at the time, like I was 6th, 7th grade, I was super just like introverted. I'm still introverted now. I just know how to play the part of an extrovert. I tell people that. Like, I just know how to play the part, but I just did not. I was just antisocial, introverted. So like rap being such an extroverted art, I was like, man, I like this. I admire this. The Basement, BT The Basement. I don't think a lot of people will know what that is, but that stuff, I was like, man, this is dope, but I don't think I could ever do that because I'm just super in my box. So I'll just write poetry. So that's kind of where it started. I wrote poetry. I wrote like little journals about how my day was, like, and kind of just made the narrative kind of hyperbolized, like made it super exaggerated and kind of make it fun, adventurous and shit. So that's kind of like what I did. Like rap kind of influenced that in kind of a weird way. But it wasn't until, I want to say 5 years now, it might be 4 or 5 years, when I kind of was introduced to a place of spoken word poetry and shit, like by through some homies in the Quad Cities. They kind of opened me up to it and it just blew my mind. I was like, man, like I write poetry and I never did rap. I still don't think I could do rap, but I think I could do the spoken word thing. So I kind of started getting back to writing a little bit. Just wrote this little piece. Did it at this place that's now the Brew. It was the East Village Cafe back when I started. Did that open mic, kind of shared my work. People loved it. And from there, I just kind of continued to do it. And even there, I think a little bit, maybe I watched a little bit of like poetry just because like I wanted to know a little bit how it goes. But for the most part, I was watching Smack TV, like the battle raps.
Yeah.
And just kind of pulling from that culture, pulling from what I hear from rap and saying, okay, like this looks dope. This sounds dope. How can I put this into what I do poetically and just kind of change, do something different? Because if you listen, are you familiar with like button poetry or like all deaf poetry?
I don't know if I've heard any or much.
And they have they're a big like poetry organization like around here. I mean, not around here, but like just in the U.S. And it's just filled with like artists who are poets. They have like poetry slams, poetry events, and they have like a lot of videos on YouTube. A lot of people like who are really into spoken word know spoken word by like button poetry, which is dope. But for me, when I kind of look at it, what was kind of like which is what's still hard to me is that it just sounds like a lot of the people who do stuff on that medium, poets who like read, share their work, do their content, perform, they just all sound the same with like how they do it, because I feel like there's this culture of spoken word that's kind of been created where it's just like you got to do this, that, and the other. So like the art's kind of being compartmentalized, and for me, like I'm just a person who just like doesn't like being put in boxes. So I'm like, man, fuck that. Like I'm gonna put some battle rap in this. I'm gonna put some of this in here and like just make something different that's kind of just stands out, you know. So and it's nothing unique in and of itself too. I have to say that too, because a lot of my homies, shout out to Big Geronimo in Chicago and like those homies down there who do spoken word, they really put me on to like how much more like the culture of like rap and battle rap can be fit into poetry and be dope as hell. Like they really kind of influenced me this past year. So yeah, I don't even know what we're talking about. I just went off. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell when you perform, like using it's very intense a lot of times, you know, and that's really dope.
Yeah, it's super funny because like I think, and again, I think this just comes from a very like, I won't say white perspective. That sounds like a jerk thing, but it's mostly like whenever I get done performing, people think that I'm like this super woke dude or whatever, like that I'm just super political or that I'm like this, that, or the other. It's like, no, like I just like art and I have some shit to say. Like they think I'm just trying to start this revolution, like politically or activist. Why I was like, nah, bro, I'm just. Yeah, I'm not the
vote
active.
for me for Senate.
Yeah, it's I think Chance the Rapper said the best in his song. I might need security. He said, "I'm not an activist. I'm the protagonist." So it's just like, I just like writing shit, man. I just like letting art be art. But yeah, it's always intense, just because like, I think I just write what I kind of feel. I always like look at shit that happens, whether it's like political, whether it's just like close to me. Look at that shit and just learn how to I just kind of ask myself like, how do I feel about this, and kind of put that in kind of writing and allow myself to really be enveloped in those feelings. So it is very intense. And again, like I also have the influence like battle rap culture, which is like intense as fuck. If you watch like Smack TV or URL or a Bullpen and all that, it's very intense art. So I always try to like encapsulate what they do into my art too, for sure.
Hell yeah. How old are you now?
I'm 27 years old.
So you said maybe about 4 or 5 years ago you started?
Yep. It was like, yeah. I started, it's crazy how I started. It was like a pretty, it was like a journey within a journey, as one of my favorite like authors called it. But I just finished up my 4th year of college, still had it. I still had like 2 more years to go and all that. And I was running cross country and track in college and shit. So I had something to focus on to kind of keep me motivated to kind of like go through classes and all that. But in college, you can only do sport for 4 years, and then like you're just done. And I was at St. Ambrose at the time. And on my 4th year, I still had classes to take, and kind of I had that motivation though. I had that kind of like sport kind of taken away of like, oh, like I did my 4 years in college and it's done. And I was kind of in this place of making the decision of whether I wanted to continue to St. Ambrose, go there and pay the deficit that took the place of the scholarship I was given, and just like not know what the hell I'm doing, or do I want to just take a year off and just figure out what I want to do. So after my 4th year, I just took a year off of school. I actually moved out to LeClaire, and I was interning at like a church there and just kind of like doing things. Because at the time I thought I wanted to be like a church planner and like associate pastor and all this. So I was out there just doing my thing. And in the midst of that year is when I kind of found poetry and shit. And that's where I kind of started writing. And it was kind of like, it's kind of a crazy thing. I think writing, I'm definitely like convinced that writing like was given to me in that time to kind of teach me to think for myself, you know. and just kind of look at the things around me and kind of really kind of just like interrogate them and like, okay, this shit's kind of weird. Like, what's happening here? Like, what's happening here? I didn't notice that before, but like now I'm kind of having my gears turning, my critical thinking. Like, I don't really make sense of this. And like around that time, there's just a lot of things that were happening in my life that weren't making sense. Like more from like a religious standpoint, kind of like my views kind of changing and kind of just like not agreeing with a lot of things. And I like, after I kind of figured that out, that there's like a lot of stuff going down that I just didn't really like agree with like organized religion and like in our Western region, I kind of made the decision to kind of leave, focus on my craft, focus on like writing, just focus on just like this art shit, as opposed to focusing on that world that I was in. So, that was 4 years ago. I think I was like 20. Yeah, I was like 24. Yep. So it was about like 4 years ago. So it was kind of like a off the road kind of journey, but it's just like, this is where you're supposed to be the whole time. So it was kind of dope.
Hell yeah, that's sick. And now with doing poetry and everything, that's led to you have a book out now.
Yeah, yep, unfinished, and the title is literally unfinished. I mean, you can look it up. You know,
Unfin.
Hey, yeah, yeah, yep. I wrote that last year. Well, yeah, I started writing it last year, and I published it December 26th of last year, and it was a good book. Like, I shouldn't say like I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like I should give myself more credit for like work that I do, but sometimes I'm just super like, I'm my own worst critic, like everything. So like when I kind of look at it, it's a great book. Like, I'm glad I put it out. I'm glad I kind of like had the balls to self-publish, do my own shit, do it the way I wanted. Like, that was just a dope experience in and of itself. And it was a collection of work that I wrote over the last like 4 years. So it's a big space of like a lot of writing that I've done in the last like 4 years. And with that, I was in a lot of seasons. Obviously, like I was in this like place of obviously just like having a viewpoint here that I believed in. Next year, didn't quite believe in that one. Third year was different than the year before and the year before that one. So like all the work kind of came from like all these kind of different places. And it was kind of like a goulash of just different things, from like social shit, spirituality, like relationships. I mean, you got the book, so like you kind of like know, or maybe you haven't read it, and that's okay if you didn't. No, but it was just like a big amalgamation of a bunch of stuff, which I just wanted to get off my chest. I think that was kind of the purpose of the book, to kind of just have this out, get it out, and kind of have my farewell with those pieces that I kind of wrote, you know, kind of share with people and see how they like wrestle with it or how they kind of like it. So,
and now, when you started doing poetry more seriously, did you always have the goal of like writing a book, or did that come? Like,
no,
were you planning it for a while.
No, actually, it came pretty recently. It came at the beginning of last year when I first started doing poetry, and I think that's just because of the culture that is the Quad Cities. There's not a lot of poets like around here, like who do spoken word poetry. Like, we have rappers, we have songwriters, we have everything else like musically, like in the aesthetic like department, but we don't have a lot of people who do spoken word. So for me, I had a lot of influence, which I think made my art unique, you know, because I didn't have other poets to write poetry with. Sure, yeah. I had all these other artists around me like, oh, that's dope, I want to put this in my stuff and put this in here. But I think when I first started and having the influence that I did with like local artists and all that, I wanted to come out with like a project, like a record, a mixtape of some sort or something like that. And I wanted to be more of a rapper than I was poet, and I wanted to do both at one time. So like it was kind of like, it was honestly kind of me taking the step to write a book, was kind of me just being comfortable with like what I do. Because I feel like I put this up a couple days ago on my IG, like after the passing of Stan Lee. But when it came to like poetry, like even now I think I still have glimpses of it, but it feels sometimes that it's just like, man, like this is not the cool thing. Like people aren't into this. Like all my cool friends are rapping. All my cool friends are doing shows at the Raccoon Whiskey Bar Motel. I don't even know what the hell the place is called. Like, it's got a bunch of animals.
I think that's what it was called.
It's got 2 animals and whiskey. I think something like that.
Right.
But I just look at that and I'm like, man, like this is kind of like the bottom of the barrel kind of stuff. But I kind of had to wrestle with that for a minute and like kind of realize that it really wasn't. It was just unique. It was different. And just because a lot of people aren't doing it around me doesn't mean that it has it doesn't have like a value, you know? So when I kind of started living kind of the identity of just like knowing that I'm a poet, that I'm a writer and shit, I started being able to say, okay, like since I'm a poet and I'm a writer, I'm less likely to make a record, even though I could make a record, which I'm working on one, like a poetry EP, and I'm working on one next year. Okay. I could do that, but I can also write a book, like because I'm a poet, like I can write a book. Like if I was just like a rapper, like say, or maybe I was like a Lil Yachty like rapper. If I wrote a book of my lyrics, I could do that, but that shit wouldn't like it'd be like, oh, this is kind of, you know, yeah, exactly. So. Right, kind of like the book was big for me. I should say that my first book was big for me because it was like my proclamation to myself was saying like what you do is dope. Like don't ever kind of like water that down just because like people around you aren't the same. Just because like what you do is different. Like your shit is dope. Write this fucking book and like don't worry about anything else. So that's, I think the symbolism behind writing the first book was dope to me. It kind of gave me a place of just like being comfortable being myself, being my own skin, and like just doing my shit.
Yeah.
And being dope at it. To the best of my ability.
Fuck yeah. It looks dope too. I like the artwork and shit.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon. Like he when we went out to take pictures for that, I think we just like were walking around town and we were thinking like, okay, where the fuck do we want to take pictures at? And Brandon's like, oh, I know this like cool place under a bridge. We went to it in like Davenport. And I forgot exactly. I know where it's at, but like when it comes to streetwise, I don't know where the hell like the street is or that. Yeah, exactly. Streets. But when we got there, I was like, man, like this is a dope picture to take a picture in front of. I mean, this is a dope like graffiti, like whatever you call the aesthetic to take a picture in front of. We took a picture there. It was cold as fuck that day, freezing, and I'm very awkward. Like I can't look at pictures. Like I can't look at cameras and take pictures and make it look right. Like I just can't. I'm just not photogenic. I think it's awkward. Serious. Yeah, you're either super serious. I'm either super serious or just awkward, or my smile just looks fake as hell. Like it's either one of those three. So like I was like, man, like when we were going through the pictures, we were looking at them. I was like, okay, that one's not going. That one's not going. Okay, I'm looking at the ground. Like let's just do that one. And it's funny because people think it's just like a profound thing. Like, oh, he must be looking at the ground because it means something. It's like, no, I'm just awkward as hell, and I can't look at the camera.
It
like,
looks dope.
Yeah, bro, it is. I like if it was like a candid thing, like where I was kind of looking at the camera, but not like some candid shit. It probably would have turned out dope that way too, but I'm just not. I can't look at the cameras. It's just not.
Can you cock your eye and just have one looking at the camera and one looking away?
Yeah, hey, that's the next like book cover. That's the next book cover. Which actually I'm working on. I just started working on my next book this week actually too. Yeah, man.
Do you know when that might be out, or it's just? It's
gonna be out the week of Valentine's Day, which will be pretty interesting because I won't be in the country at the time. But I'm gonna have I'm setting shit up in place so that when it comes out, it'll be able to come out successfully with me not being there. But I'm super excited about that one too. It's kind of a book to kind of hold people over before my bigger project that I'm releasing at the end of next year. Mm-hmm. But this one's kind of I shouldn't, with it kind of coming out at around the Valentine's like time. It's called I'm Not Anti-Love, I Promise. And it's just a bunch of like poems that I've written and just stories about just like awkward mishaps, like relationship wise, like things are just weird. And just it's not hating on it at any point. No, I think it's easy for people who are like single as fuck on those days just be hating ass people. Just saying like, oh, I hate this day. Yeah. Y'all aren't even in love. Y'all spend out here, but just like quit being a hating ass like person. Right. But it's just me sharing real ass stories that are just funny as fuck, like just super funny, just super just like ironic and weird and peculiar.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And now you said you're working on an album as well.
Yeah.
A strictly spoken word album.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mixture of both. Like I say mixture because the rap aesthetics or the singing aesthetics are gonna come from friends that I know and that I throw on as features. Like I've learned like in this last few months I should say, to kind of stay in my lane when it comes to like what I do art wise. Like being able to like branch out and do different things, but when I know that I'm good at something, do that for a record and like don't be too experimental. That's just for me personally. So like it's gonna be a goulash of like rappers, singer-songwriters, and then me doing poetry. But my first one that I'm working on right now is just gonna be a simple EP to kind of just put out some stuff and kind of show people like what it kind of sounds like when like spoken word meets like low fidelity kind of like beat style, because like I think like a lot of spoken word records that I've heard at least that are like really like popular ones always have this they have this place of always having the instrumental that they pick be kind of like a drum beat, like, you know, like something that you would expect, like at a jazz cafe or something like that,
right?
Which is cool. But like, again, like with me just kind of like being different and having like a different kind of influence, I'm like, man, why not just like find how to throw in a trap beat, like some trap beat aesthetics behind this poetry or some lo-fi shit. So this project I'm working right now, I'm working on with my roommate, actually, who's a beat producer. Shout out to Preston, aka Sun God. Dope ass dude, super dope. But we're working on a EP now, which is going to be done at the end of this year. That's just going to be kind of another, like I said, it's going to be a holdover project for the bigger project that I have next year. The bigger like spoken word rap record that I'm working on next year called Black Thoughts. The amalgamation of black righteousness and righteousness is what it's called. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That one's going to be, I'm super excited about that one. Like, just cause like how I've kind of just extended like what I wanted to do, like idea wise, just cause like I feel like I work on, it takes me a while to work on projects. Like I'm really jealous of like artists like around here that can just like push out projects left and right. Cause I just can't do that. Cause like I'm
trying to get to that point myself. Just like putting everything in place to where I have the ability to like just be able to keep cranking the shit out.
Exactly.
So.
For me, I'm just like such a slow dude when it comes to that, because like I'm always thinking about like what else I can put in something, what else I can take away from something, like what samples can I put in this, like maybe from like a Malcolm X speech, or maybe I can take some stuff from this over here from a show. Like I'm just always thinking about like how to kind of like make like one track kind of like be connected, like well connected, you know, like be production wise like dope, instrumentally dope, the content dope. And just myself just being able to like say what I say in a way to kind of like make people catch everything that's happening, you know. So I'm just super slow when it comes to that, but I don't think I'll ever get like fast at it, which is okay.
Yeah, but, I mean, there's a process to it that requires some time.
Yeah.
I mean, some people maybe if they try and crank out shit super fast, you're gonna lose some quality. Depending, it depends on the person.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah. No, definitely. I think I'm just such a quality over quantity kind of guy. Like, I'm just...
And then, yeah, just being, of course, like with most artists, probably even myself, just being your biggest critic, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
All these details.
I'm actually, for the project, I made the decision to drop one of the singles from the project, the EP, like next week on Black Friday, which this will be way past that. But with that, like I was kind of I was talking to my roommate, I was like, yo, we're going to drop this day and this is going to happen. Like it's going to happen. And like, as I was saying that, I'm like, man, like, am I really ready for this? What are people going to think? It's going to be weird. It's going to be that. But I try to get past all that stuff and just say, you know what, whatever. Like,
just say, fuck it.
Yeah, just exactly.
Do it.
It's, the I don't give a fuck just not give a fuckisms is what I call it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that though.
Now on your album, is it going to consist of like just spoken word tracks and then also tracks with beats and shit?
No,
all have music.
It all has music.
Okay,
all of it has music. Yeah, for this one specifically, like I'll have one track where I'm like doing my like how we kind of did the process of it was pretty interesting. Where for me, I can't listen to a beat beforehand when I like write something, because then I'm just gonna be stuck on like how to match my writing to that beat, which I shouldn't do. Like so, like what I did was like I pre-recorded everything just a cappella at first. 6 tracks, send it to Preston, and said, Preston, whatever you think about when you hear this, like whatever, you know what to do. Like I ain't even gonna touch nothing. Like you're the artist, like you make the beats. Like when you hear this poem going, like what comes to your mind? Like what kind of feel, what kind of sound, what kind of vibration comes? And that's how we kind of did that. Because for me, just like if he was to give me a beat and say write a poem to this beat, I would try to match it up with like the cadence. It would be more like rap than it would poetry, because I would have like, okay, like let me stay on beat here, and like I don't have to do that when I just write it ahead of time and just like give it. So
yeah,
the process is super different for sure.
Definitely. Now, and then sometimes when you perform live, you do it with a band as well, like a backing
band. Yep, I did. Yeah, I've been doing stuff with Grandiose. Shout out to them too. Super dope band.
Shout out.
Yay, yeah, Jason and those cats. I was doing stuff with them for a good minute, like for shows. We just like, I think our first time we did it was last year, I think. At the Island, RIP. We did something at the Island because I just got booked for it randomly. I'm like, man, like I'm doing this with rappers. Like I want to do something different than let me just grab these guys. And we rehearsed, did some stuff, and people loved it. And I would still do it with them to this day for sure. But yeah.
You ever consider putting out an album with them? Like,
yeah, we actually, the EP that I'm working on now, I was going to put it together with them, like as the band, to kind of like play behind it and all that, but with them being so busy, because they do their own thing, like as a band, like they travel to Colorado and shit and all that, to play music and all that stuff. So they were just like too busy on their side. Plus a lot of them went to school, a lot of them worked a bunch. My schedule was super busy, so like our schedules just couldn't click together. And the guy who we're gonna have kind of be our engineer, the famous Sam Mack Senior, he was I think he was just really busy on his end too, living in Peoria, like having to kind of drive back and forth. So, and I was kind of still like in that place of like being the artistic critic that I am, like saying, okay, like they're dope, but like, are they going to fit the sound that I really want for this like project? Like, is it right for this one? I could see that for like maybe a different project that I'm working on, but like for the first one that I wanted to do, I just don't think it fit the sound that I wanted. So I definitely want to like in the future, like work on a project with them, because they're just like super cool cats and they're talented, really cool.
Definitely.
Really cool.
That'd change it up too, having an album with them, album with other rappers and singers too and shit.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I think for me, just again being kind of influenced by a lot of like rap culture and even like neo soul, like Erykah Badu is like a big influence of mine. Lauryn Hill's a big influence. Thundercats, those guys, like the funk band, like those having all those influences. I always had influence from like a singing, songwriting perspective too. So being able to take rappers that kind of influenced me, taking the culture of rap that influenced me and put it in this project, and taking kind of that culture too, just kind of seemed right, you know? Like if I was to put like Grandiose in this, like it wouldn't have seemed completely right because it wasn't, those writings weren't influenced by kind of a Grandiose kind of band, if that makes sense, you know?
Right.
It would kind of feel kind of, I think some people would like it, but for me, it just would have felt kind of really weird, you know? Like I would have like always looked back at it like, I wish I could have did this or that or the other, so. But it's really cool, like with kind of like having rappers and songwriters kind of featured on stuff that I've already written from top to bottom. Like it kind of gives you this place of like being really creative, like with what I want to do. Like for example, my Black Like Me piece, you've heard like 1,000 times, I bet. But I'm having a feature, Isaiah from Davenport. He's a feature on that project, on that specific track. And what I did was like, since it was already written, like from top to bottom, I kind of had to put myself in a place like, okay, where can I click Isaiah in to kind of like make this transition well and kind of make the whole story flow. So I have him in the poem, like when I say, oh, there's a fact about myself that almost everyone feels need to remind me I am black. I punch him in right there. He raps for 8 bars and kind of ends this verse with something that kind of ties into I'm so black, so that I can go back into what I'm doing. And then I have him on later in the track doing 8 more verses for the I am white part. So like with it, like it just makes it unique, you know? Like it's not like I do the whole poem, mine is done, and then he does a verse. It's just like, no, they're engrafted in my shit. Like we're all like going back and forth. So I like being able to have that creativity where like, because I'm a spoken word artist, I can like think of like, okay, how can I put this rapper here, put this singer here, or put that there, or maybe I have them just do my lyrics for me, you know, like have a different feel. So it's cool to have like kind of that uniqueness and kind of that versatility at hand.
That'd be dope to hear.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you. Now,
do you plan on like continually just coming out with albums and books and things like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, like this year, I have the next 3 years kind of planned out with like project wise, like what I want to do record wise. And I kind of told myself, I'm just giving myself a whole year for each project. Like this next year would be the Black Thoughts project. The year after that, I want to write a project just on talking about kind of like mental health and like shit, kind of my struggles in that and all that stuff. Kind of akin to like what J. Cole did with his KOD project a little bit. And then after that, I wanted to do another project, which probably doesn't matter because I probably won't be alive. Hopefully I will be to come out with a project. So I probably shouldn't say that. Yeah, I should be. But yeah, I think just kind of like knowing myself and kind of finding out how I worked this past year, I think just like doing an album a year and a book as well with that kind of just works well with the process, you know. So I definitely kind of plan on just doing that, just giving myself a lot more thinking time. And I mean, a year is a pretty good lengthy time to kind of like plan out things and kind of like stay consistent with them. So the fact that I have it planned out now and how it will go kind of just makes it easier. So I definitely continue to do that. And obviously just dabbling in other things. Like I said, I have the Black Thoughts podcast coming out next year as well with the project, as well as a book. Black Thoughts book is coming out next year too. So it's just going to be a year of Black Thoughts. Shout out to Black Thoughts. Yeah, but you should have like a thing that says shout out. No, but yeah, I'm doing those, and also just again like dabbling into like short film writing, because I have like a lot of ideas that kind of my mentor's been pushing me to kind of make a thing too. So I plan on just doing a lot of things, honestly, just to kind of become an overall creative, really, just not being compartmentalized, just knowing that I can be creative and whatever. So
definitely, you're gonna have like a dope, huge body of work.
What's up?
You're gonna have like a dope, huge body of work eventually. Hella books, hella albums. That's gonna be sick.
Yeah, man, it'd be exciting, man. It's crazy. It's always crazy just thinking about how I like wrote a book, like, you know, like
right.
Yeah, it's like that's.
I think that's on my bucket list for. I don't know what I would write at this point, but something.
Yeah, it's not a hard process, man. It definitely is, and I think people kind of like look at it and think it's like a hard process, but it was pretty easy for me to learn. Like, obviously, the first time had its bumps and bruises, but like now, even going into this book, I know it's like what to expect. Like, okay, I need to do this here, that here. Make sure I put this in this formatting before I do that. So it's a pretty easy process, man, for sure. Definitely. So look out for Cody's book when he comes out, folks.
Fuck yeah.
It's going to be called Finished.
All right, in 2031. Yeah. Man, shit. So, and you also, you were going to come out with like a video, weren't you?
Yes, that one, we're still working on it. I'm actually meeting with my mentor pretty soon here to kind of finish it, because he does like, the guy who shot it, like, does a lot of video stuff for people outside the state. Like, that's kind of he's like a freelance videographer and does a lot of stuff like video-wise in professional circles. So he's just always busy with that one. But we're finishing that up. We'll be done by the end of this year. And we'll be, and you were in it too. Yeah, you're like starring Cody, Code V. Yeah.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a dope video.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we originally started writing that video because there was a school in Cedar Rapids that contacted me and said they wanted me to like do a visual for them, like a poetic visual that had to do with race. So I'm like, okay, like I got Black Like Me Too, easy. Wrote the whole shit for it. Only to fun. And then as we kind of started filming, I think our first day of filming, we were filming it, shooting it, and all that. And I get home that night, and one of them, the people from the school reached out and said, "Oh, we actually might not need that video till like next year of like 2019. So." You can keep working on it, but we just don't need it now. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, no pressure. Because, like, originally they wanted us to get done like 3 months. So I'm like, oh, shit. All right. I got some time. So, yeah, it was cool. It was a cool little feel. But it's a great video. I want to do more of that, like, where, again, kind of like being an artist. Like, I'm wanting to do, like, a lot more spoken word videos, but going to have kind of the duality of, like, making short films out of them. Like, making them have a story and shit, you know? Because, like...
Ooh, that'd be interesting to have like short films with like sprinkled in pieces throughout a story or something.
Hey,
like, that'd be kind of crazy.
We might be working on that. Yeah. But I just think that's a cool thing, you know, like, again, like when you kind of see like rap music videos or like anything like that, they have a story and all that to them. But I think we kind of have like an ear to like really listening to the music that we don't really get in tune with the story that's happening visually. But with spoken word, like it's so kind of just like, I don't want to say plainly given, but it's kind of delivered in a way where like you can focus on the words and the visuals just make it pop all the more, you know. You could probably think about a video that you've seen that, like think about a fucking car commercial, like or you kind of see the car driving, but like you hear kind of like the voice like talking about the Audi 876. I don't know if that's a car. I just guessed. Said some. It's
coming out
shit.
Next year.
Yeah, but I just think like. With me, I want to be able to kind of like have the duality of giving people like a kind of like a visual of like kind of what was in my head when I was like thinking of this piece. And I think it would just be kind of like dope. I'm doing a couple of those actually for this EP. There's one song specifically that we're doing that I'm playing the visuals for, and I'm like pretty pumped by it. Like just kind of thinking about it, but it'll be dope too. So you guys can just tune into that whenever. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Coming soon
to theaters near you. Not theaters, maybe like.
Well, fuck it. We're putting in the theater, goddammit.
Who's paying? GoFundMe page right now.
Yeah. Have it be like a little bumper before the films and shit, like a little preview.
Yeah. Hey, that'd be dope.
That'd be interesting. Way to market.
I feel like you just came up with something there.
There you go.
Man. About to talk to the movie theaters about that.
Yeah, be like, so what do I got to do?
Yeah.
What do you allow for your fucking preview?
Yeah, exactly.
How much money exactly?
Yeah, let's how much money? Let's just get down to the real
That's
question.
all.
How much money?
That's the only question, really.
Yeah, that's the one question y'all were on. So let's get down to the nitty gritty.
That would be kind of crazy, actually.
I think it'd be crazy, man.
Let's do it.
Let's go. I feel like we're gonna shoot something at folks. Short film before Toy Story 4. Is that the next one coming out? Because there's a new Toy Story coming out next year.
Toy Story 4.
Just have our video before that, because everybody's gonna go to Toy Story.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I'm going.
I'm going to that. Yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
yeah, I'm going.
Seriously, man.
I think I've probably seen like every one of the Toy Stories in theaters.
Yeah, man. I was into the games, the movies. I think one year I wanted to be Buzz Lightyear, but that whole like suit thing just didn't work out. So I was Goku instead. It worked out better, but yeah, I think if you don't like Toy Story, there's something.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, there's something happening in your childhood that's traumatizing.
That's that OG fucking Pixar shit.
I'm saying, like, and they did short films too, like in their movies.
They do.
So I think this idea will work. Like, this is just like solidifying this idea. We can just do a short film and kind of have that be the thing. Pixar, let's open up, drop our mixtape. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, fuck it, we'll animate it too. We'll make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, man, that'd be dope, man. This creativity is crazy right now.
Definitely.
I dig this.
Fuck yeah. Now, you like, do you also work with like the children, teaching them like workshops or something?
Yeah. Yep. So that's another realm. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, another realm of what I do, which really kind of like has the capacity to really like kind of pay the bills, if you want to call it that, is I teach workshops for creative writing at schools from elementary school, junior high, high school, college age, and beyond too. And just kind of like teaching the writing process more from the Black aesthetics, like I said, because like that's kind of like where more I can like teach confidently, you know, like how to teach like what imagery looks like from a rap perspective, from a spoken word / rap perspective for me, what metaphor, simile, what I can pull out from battle rap culture that's kind of an important literary work. So I teach all that and teach how to perform it too. I teach all those things.
As a kid, that'd be really interesting to be in a class like that. You know?
Yeah, it's super fun, man. Like, it's so awesome. I think the last one I did was the Black Hawk, was through Black Hawk College. No, it wasn't through Black Hawk College. It was through this gospel music camp. But I came through the whole week and taught poetry, spoken word, and all that. And just kind of seeing the kids' reactions and all that. Like, kids who didn't know going into it, like they thought poetry was lame, which we all thought, you know, we all thought going like poetry, roses are red, violets are blue, that's lame. But when I kind of just like showed and broke down, like, okay, look at Andres 3000's Gemini, look at this, look what he says, look how poetic that is, look what he did this multi-syllable thing, bum ba bum bum ba bum,
right.
Bum, ba,
yeah,
bum,
like good poetry, it's like well, obviously it's an art and all that, just because it's like an interesting way of speaking, like, you know,
exactly.
Like you could just like break down a poem, you know, and like just say it plainly as like a sentence, you know, like this is what he's saying, like,
exactly.
But then it's like this whole artsy like side to it. Same with like, you know, a normal sentence. You could just say something normal that doesn't sound cool or crazy at all, but then you could twist it up and change the way the words you use and the way you know where you put the words and shit, and then now you have this like crazy piece or something, you know.
Exactly. You can do it without music and it'll be just as dope.
Yeah.
And like being able to show kids that, it's just super cool. But yeah, I've been able to do it for I've been able to do like a bunch of camps around here, and I had one of my like really cool accomplishments this year was I went out to Parsons, Kansas before summer and like taught 6 classrooms. I think I taught 4 junior high classrooms and then 2 high school classrooms. By the end of the day, I was burnt.
Oh wow! So what's
burnt.
the age like range?
Jeez, that with that one specifically.
Well, with all that you've done with the kids, do you do really young kids and older kids? All of it?
I've done it all. Like I should say, I haven't done infants obviously because infants just can't understand that. But I've done
like really
lower elementary, like
damn.
1st to 3rd grade, which is like I have to throw out the stuff that I like at that point and kind of teach it in a very simplistic like kind of structure at that point with those, because they don't understand like phonetics, multi-syllables, what, like what's all that. So it's kind of less, I shouldn't say it's less fun for me just because like I like being able to like break down like the real stuff to like people and kind of have them like grasp that. But yeah, I've done like all ages from 1st to to a college age. So I'd have to say though, like high school's probably like my favorite. Like like junior high, like maybe 8th grade up to like high school, that age is my favorite because like they're kind of in that place of just kind of trying to figure life out. They have a bunch of stuff to say and they understand like the stuff that I'm like talking about. And when I kind of break it down, you kind of see like light bulbs go off like, oh, like Lil Wayne's song is poetry, you know? And they don't have like, it's not in like a super just like teachery kind of way, for lack of a better term. Like I'm going to school now to get my like degree in education and all that stuff, which is going to take another 3 years. But I think what makes like what I do kind of unique is that it's not given in kind of like this like academia kind of way, you know, like when I think about like the creative writing classes that I had in high school, I actually had a really dope ass like creative writing teacher. So maybe I shouldn't talk about that one because Miss Johnson was dope as hell, and she had the most freshest J's. Like I think she still rocks like the most freshest J's like still, but she was a cool like creative writing teacher. But I think like when I kind of see creative writing teachers now who have me come in and talk to their students, they teach her from such like an academic place where it kind of makes it seem mundane, boring, dull. They kind of take the salt out of it, you know, the flavoring out of it. So like for me, I'm very unorthodox and like different with how I kind of teach poetry. I'm like, okay, just let's throw out the one size kind of fits all stuff. Like, and I'm always like, let's put this in here. Like, let's put these facts in here and like pick out who they listen to. I'll pick out a Lil Yachty song. I'll pick out a Lil Uzi song to listen to it. Like, and like break down like how poetic it is. Like I'll do that stuff because like that's what they vibe with. They're not gonna vibe with Edgar Allan Poe and how like that dude was gross as fuck, but he was dope. But they just are just gonna look at that like what, you know. So it's cool like being able to like work with that age group, junior high to high school for sure.
Doing that method is probably a good way to like actually get to the kids, like, you know. Exactly.
They know that you're not trying to be like this lame ass older person who's trying to be cool.
Trying to be.
Yeah, I was like,
I listen to young kids' music.
You guys heard that Young Jazzy? That Young Jazzy? What about Jazzy? You mean Jay-Z? No, Jazzy. Yeah.
Jazzy.
They know that like I really know my shit when it comes to like art wise. Like, okay, like Lil Yachty, I gotta know who that is. Like, Kendrick Lamar. You wouldn't understand like how much kids don't know Kendrick Lamar though.
Really?
That blows my mind. Like, I was having an argument. I was just like, these kids were like listening to like Lil Uzi, and I was messing with. I was like, oh, you listen to Lil Uzi? Like, what about Kendrick Lamar though? I was like, who's Kendrick Lamar? I'm like, I was like, yeah, who's that? He sounds like a lame. My goodness. And that's when I go to the teacher's office and be like, I can teach this class. Just put a couple O's behind what I make. Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you just went into like these workshops and teaching these kids with your own just experience, but you said you're going to school for teaching and education, so you kind of have a background in knowing how to do that in a I've gone to school for it, and I've worked with kids like from summer camps, before and after school camps, ever since I was 20 years old. And I'm 27 now, so I have 7 years to like knowing kids, like how they work, how they tick, all these little things. Having friends that are teachers, listen to them, listen to how kids work, and this, that, and the other. But I kind of already have an idea of how to. So like, and again, like it really kind of baffles people when I tell them like I don't really have like legitimate credentials to be able to do what I do. Like I just know my shit. Sure.
Like I know a lot more shit than a lot of like the English teachers who kind of trying to do something because like I've studied. I'm kind of I'm a student of like of the art and of English and literature in and of itself. So, and just off of that, people are able to kind of see that and kind of see what I do and kind of just say like, okay, well like his shit speaks for itself. So I can just go in there with like my own stuff that I've learned, my own like lesson plans that I've made, and kind of things that I kind of trial and errored with like different workshops and all that stuff, and kind of just go with that, honestly. Kind of just go in there like I'm just like I own that bitch. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Did you ever like consider this is where you'd be going down, like the path that you'd be taking?
Nah, it's crazy. It's crazy because like I feel like I tell people like this. I feel like everything that I've done in the last 7 years of my life kind of led up to this moment. Like my freshman year of college, I majored in creative writing because I wanted to be a short story writer. I didn't know what that looked like. I just liked writing stories at the time. Then I was kind of what do you say? I was kind of discouraged from that because it didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I jumped to education, elementary education at first. That's where I started working with kids, and this, and the other. And I did that from like a academic perspective. I did that from a church perspective too. I like work with kids like in a church setting because like so I was well acquainted with like how kids work and all that stuff. Did that from age 20 to 24. Took a year off of school, went back to school in psychology and sociology because like I obviously again like being in that place of writing and being more psychological and thinking and all that stuff and being more, as the kids call it, woke, being more like aware of like stuff around me. I wanted to study like psychology and know like how a kid's mind works, how people's minds work, and like how society like makes them work in a certain way. And then realizing that though that was a dope major, it wasn't like getting me what I wanted really. Like I couldn't see myself doing with anything with it, so I went back to middle school education. So like all these things though, creative writing, working with kids, like understanding how the mind works, understanding how society works, and being able to put that into written pieces, and being able to kind of like teach how I wrote those, like all these things kind of like was kind of like, oh, like you were always meant to do that shit. You just had to go through this, that, and the other, and it's kind of like the journey within the journey. So they all kind of led up to that moment of just like what I do now. So I never saw it, but I kind of had like little glimpses of it through all the little shit that I was doing.
Right. Yeah, and then literally like just having to break everything down and actually teach it, especially to kids, it probably gives you like a huge like just personal understanding of your own just craft yourself. You might have had more insight. Just like the fact of just saying it, like, oh, this is how I do this and that, and this is what leads to this and that, you know?
Yeah, no, seriously. I remember there's this one teacher in Moline, a really awesome teacher. She had this thing where she showed her kids my Black Like Me video, which is not Black. It was a different video. Black Like Me is the one I shot last year, which is on YouTube. But she showed her students that and had her students, 20 of these students, write down what they saw in the video that kind of spoke to them. And when I came in to teach a workshop that day, they all gave me their, like 20 students gave me their papers and all that, and to read what they picked out of it. I'm like, yo, I didn't even realize I did that shit. And I was like, what? Like, you saw that? And like, that's you? And it's just like, it definitely gave me a better understanding of like my work and all that, and like how, I should say better understanding of like how people's interpretation of my work can like, can like really take them to all these different places, you know? So it was really dope to kind of see that. Crazy. And this was from like, this is from like 4th, 5th graders, but they were like advanced class, like 4th, 5th graders. So like being able to see like this, I was like, yeah, you guys are smart, bro. Like, what the heck? So yeah, it's always, seriously. Yeah, it's always just like a really just like cool, it's art. I mean, always like whenever I'm teaching these workshops, wherever it's at, whenever I'm like doing shows and all that, it's always giving me a better like understanding of self and like what I can do art wise and like kind of allowing me to kind of always progress in my art, you know?
Right.
So it's always cool to like do those workshops and all. Super dope. The kids give me more than I give to them, I always say.
Yeah.
Way more, man.
Definitely. I bet.
Yeah.
And now you have a big old thing coming up. Your out of country trip.
Yeah. In the places, in the good place of Haiti.
Shout out to Haiti.
Yeah. And shout out to, Living Media International. That's left my brain. Living Media International, which is the nonprofit that I'm going down there to work with.
Yeah. So how'd you get into all this? How'd that even come about?
Yeah. Well, my homie, who's the executive director of it, Lee Rainbooth, I met him my junior year of college when I was going to school at Morningside College in Sioux City, like 6 hours from here. I met him at like this little Sunday night gathering. He talked about what he does in Haiti and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to keep up with what you do. This is way before like I was an artist or even like consider being an artist. I just always kept up with what he does and kept up with what I do, I think, a little bit. But from there, from a junior to college, I was like 21 to like up until recently, I think like last year, he reached out to me via Facebook and wanted me to come down to Marcus, Iowa, which is like up by Sioux City where I went to school and met him at. He wanted me to come up there because he was always following my work, followed what I did, like on IG, YouTube, and all that stuff, and Facebook. Instead, he wanted me to come down and kind of be a featured artist alongside these other artists from like North Dakota to help with his fundraiser for Haiti to kind of raise money for all the building projects he has down there and all that stuff. So it was during the summer, so obviously like I could just do it because I don't work at schools during the summer, like we're off. So I drove down there to Marcus, Iowa. Stayed down there for a couple days, helped him with that fundraiser, went back home on my way. We kind of just, all the more stayed in contact since we kind of like, we're like, okay, like I like what you're doing and vice versa. So he reached out to me again a couple months ago and told me a few months ago and told me how he was planning on having a team come down to Haiti of like just different artists, like people who do art stuff and people who are just like love to kind of like help people in need and all that. And he wanted me to be part of that team to come down and help with a lot of like building projects to kind of help his art centers that were affected in the 2010 earthquake, because he moved down there. He went to school at Iowa State, moved down there to start his nonprofit in 2009. 2010 was when that big ass earthquake hit, so a lot of his buildings were affected. So he's been kind of like still been in the process of like rebuilding and kind of helping with a lot of stuff down there. So I'm gonna go down there and help with some of that for 10 days. One of the things I'm gonna be doing is that, as well as helping like teach workshops pertaining to poetry and all that stuff, which is gonna be a really big like different like kind of realm, you know, being down there doing that. And then I'm going to be, from what I know, just working with a couple like artists from Haiti, and then artists from some of the artists that he's having come down from like the U.S. to come help. We're working on like a big art project together for those 10 days that we're down there. So we're gonna do a little bit of everything, and it's gonna be I'm super like stoked on the opportunity for sure. Like it's
Definitely,
gonna be,
that'll be crazy.
Yeah, man, it's super crazy. Like just being able to have the opportunity to kind of just go down there and just do what I love, do what I'm good at, and just do it in like a whole different realm, like whole different part of the world. Is like, man, like it's super just like centering for sure.
How long was the trip?
10 days.
10 days.
It's gonna be 10 days. Yep. In February, from February 5th to the 15th. So it's long enough to have to really experience Haiti, but then like short enough to be like, okay, like I'm ready to go home. You know? Yeah.
Do you travel out of the country much?
Nah, this is gonna be my first time.
Damn.
It's my first time like outside the country.
Dope as fuck.
Yeah, like this is a good kind of like introduction to that whole like being outside the country, like choosing Haiti. Like what? It's super cool. Just kind of like knowing their history, like how it's like a country just kind of like was kind of founded on just like fighting. Like a lot of the people who fought there like fought for, in the Haitian Revolution, really fought for their stay there. Like when colonizers tried to like take them over or try to like put them and marginalize them in like lower socioeconomics, they're like, we're not having that, and fought for. It's like, yeah, this is some revolutionary shit. I like this. Like I like the history behind it already. So it's gonna be a dope trip, man. I'm anxious for it, but I'm super excited. I think like I haven't really reached the full excitement of it yet because I've been so busy setting everything up to kind of be ready for it, like running my GoFundMe, doing my benefit show, making sure my passport's secure, making sure I get my shots. I think when that whole checklist is done and I'm like, okay, it's all done, now I can like know it's actually happening.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to like really sit in like the fullness of how like cool that is, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. Now, are you taking like donations to get out there, or you have to raise money?
Yeah, we have to. That was a part of it. We just had to raise money ourselves to kind of go down there because it was going to help with kind of the housing, the room and board down there, the in-city transportation, and just help them personally with like having supplies to kind of help with like the building projects and all that. So I did it from a bunch of different ways. Like I ran a GoFundMe. I have a GoFundMe up now, which I'm putting my own money towards as well, and having people help out with that. But I'm also having a benefit show, a big ass like end of the year benefit show for Roaring Rhetoric at the Rock Island Supper Club, December 8th, which is gonna be like super nuts because I literally have reached it's like all my homies are like dope spoken word artists that are just like fucking killer, and like I just haven't come down. So with that, I'm kind of using the money to both like kind of pay the artists for them coming down, as well as I got to put towards the trip as well. So those are the two mediums that I'm using now. And like people, I just had somebody PayPal me money today, which is cool. But yeah, I'm just kind of having all these like different outlets, and like it's been humbling. Like when you have to ask for money, it's the most humbling thing ever. Cause like I'm just a person who like I've been in this like season of just trying to like not do everything myself and not be so individualistic, but kind of have a balance of it. Like still do shit myself. Like I said, putting my own money towards it, but realizing like, man, like there's people who want to help, and like even though it's like such a like, to us, it's such a humiliating thing to ask. So I just like, just do it because people are like willing to help, just being able to exercise that. So it's been kind of a journey in the journey of just like me, just like knowing that I don't have to be like in this place of like humiliation. I'm just like, oh, I got to ask the person for money. They're going to think I'm doing this or that with money when I'm really not. Or they're going to think I'm lazy or this.
Oh,
it's
Haiti
like,
trip, sure. But
yeah. I had somebody do that at one of the shows, at my Roaring Rhetoric shows a couple years ago, and it fucking pissed me off. I was raising money for this home here, like for this nonprofit that's raising money for people who are like in abused homes. Like, and I was using my show, the Roaring Rhetoric show, to raise money for it. And this white ass dude was so mad saying, well, I didn't trust him with my money, and I was just so mad.
What?
He asked for my money. It's like, bitch, don't give me your fucking money then. Like,
wait a minute, security.
It's just like, yeah, it's going towards, it's not going, it's just like,
oh
people,
my god.
My thing is like, people, if you don't get money, just keep your damn opinions to yourself.
Just
don't
show,
give it.
He put on a whole show, risked his reputation just to get you $20.
Exactly. Did this whole damn show for a damn $20 bill for.
I just don't think people I can trust him with.
It's just like people are just so dumb, man. Like, that shit. It's like, come on now.
Now it's going to be a Roaring Rhetoric show.
Yeah, it's going to be a Roaring Rhetoric show. It's going to be at the Supper Club just because with how things are set up at Roaring Rhetoric, it's been like the Connect Coffee House has been like an amazing venue. Like they're awesome. Crazy serve, like a really good serving community, like work wise. Like they're really cool with how like they've been allowed me to continue to come back and do what I do. Mm-hmm. But with like a lot of what they do, and a lot of just kind of like their convictions, their personal convictions, like as a organization, they don't allow people to like come in with like swear words or like certain content that kind of makes them lose business or makes them less reputable, which I understand. So me not wanting to step on those toes, like I'm bringing down artists who I don't want to say, oh, you can't be yourself in your art. So I'm bringing those artists down. I want them to be able to like be themselves, fully in their art, with their full language, with their full conviction, with their full everything. So the Rock Out and Supper Club that I kind of been helping with this last year kind of get started up. Like it just feels right because it just gives the artists a little place of like, like there ain't no rules to this shit. I can do whatever I want, say whatever I want, and be myself. So. Yeah, so it'll be a little different. It'll be interesting to see the show up since it's not at its usual housing of the Connect Coffee House. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a date set for that yet?
Yep, it's December 8th. Which is a Saturday. Yep, the first Saturday of the month, I believe. Because that's usually when we do Roaring Rhetoric, the first Saturday of every other month. So it'll be the first Saturday. It goes from, I want to say, 7 to 10, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. We have a bunch of raffles going on, silent auctions as well, because a lot of like local businesses donated a lot of dope shit, like studio time, music video stuff, and just a lot of cool stuff. So it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be a successful event. I'm nervous about it, but it's gonna be successful.
It's gonna be great. December 8th.
Yeah, be there. Do it.
And then, do you have a place where people can go if they want to donate?
Yeah, the GoFundMe. You guys should just follow my art page, AUBS period. Because I can't think of like the GoFundMe search name is Haiti Arts Trip, but it'd be way easier just finding out my Facebook page. So just find me on Facebook, AUBS period. Again, AUBS period, and you'll find where to donate and where to also buy your tickets. Because you can either I have people do this option of like if they want to just donate a certain amount, they can do that on the GoFundMe and they don't have to buy a ticket. Like their names are already going to be signed down, or they can just buy a ticket or two from Eventbrite. And that link can be found on the Facebook page too. So Facebook is like the plug. So hit up that Facebook, y'all.
Yeah. Hey. Now you had said earlier that there was not as many spoken word artists just here in the QC, but you have been hosting a lot of like poetry slams and things like that, correct?
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I want to say this first and foremost because I think I get this a lot from people, and I want to like set the record straight. Like when people see me, they think like I'm the only spoken word artist that I started this. I did not start this. Like Chris freaking Britton, Team Crosby, like that dude is the one who like influenced me to do poetry. He's an OG. He's been in the Quad Cities for years, like mentoring poets, polishing them. And if any of you guys were at our last slam and you saw like the crazy like dogfight that it was in that poetry slam, those two artists that like got a first, second place. It was close. It was only first and second only had a 0.010 like 0 point of a point difference. But those poets were ones that Chris Britton like got up. So like I shouldn't say there's not a lot. There's not a big spoken word culture. There's a lot of us kind of like in this little band of tribe like of 6-7 people that are around here, but there's not a lot. But yeah, the poetry slams have been going like cool, and I think it's awesome. Like the poetry slams in and of themselves, it kind of allows people who are readers to kind of realize what slam poetry is fucking about. You know, like we have like a community that knows what poetry reading is, and a lot of them get confused and think poetry reading is slam poetry. It is not. Like if you're doing poetry reading, you'll get what you wanted, like somebody reading and doing this and the other, and you'll be entertained. But when it comes, if you put a poetry reader and a poetry slam, like, they got to come with like energy. They got to come with something like content wise, and like blow fucking minds, especially around here, because like a lot of the spoken word artists here are like freaking. They're dope. They're crazy. They make me kind of scared to go against them. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, like the last poetry slam, I was like, dang, I need to, get back to the pen and pad. But yeah, a lot of them have been like growing, man, and like I think kind of like I've been kind of in this place of being honored to kind of be a little bit of like the pioneer of it, enough to kind of like have those ones who are kind of like haven't been there to say, okay, like Aubrey's doing this, like let me get a piece of that, because I can do this, I can do that, and I can do the other. So it's kind of been a place of like allowing those people to kind of come out of like the darkness, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. And now, since you've started doing this seriously and hosting and everything, have you noticed growth in spoken word artists?
Oh yeah, I think this past year, I think I have noticed more of a growth, and it's been coming like in a crazy. It's been from like from a standpoint of like people who are not from the Quad Cities coming to the Quad Cities because they hear that spoken word shit is in the Quad Cities.
That's dope.
And then them coming to the Quad Cities and people seeing them influences those people like I was influenced, and say, oh, let me go home and write something, like do something crazy. So like the fact that early this year I brought down a whole band of my homies from Chicago, again Geronimo and all those guys, Keep It Smooth, all those cats, bringing them down here and like really allowing the Quad Cities to know what fucking slam poetry is. Like that shit was like, that really kind of just like brought a crazy vibration where people like saw what it was, and like it really influenced people to write, do some stuff, say, okay, I want to get in this. And with that, I've been able to, I've been meeting people who I've never met before, kind of come out of the woodwork, who are like, man, I do spoken word, and like they're pretty decent at it. And it's just like they said that they got influence from like something that I did, or something that I influenced somebody else to do, or something that my homie Chris influenced somebody to do, and like to be able to see these guys just come out, it's like, yeah, this is awesome, this is super dope. So
hell yeah, that's sick.
Crazy, man. It's super crazy kind of just seeing like now that it's taken 5 years to kind of like see it kind of going.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
yeah.
It just takes that time and patience.
You know, it would be really cool. I bet. I don't know if this has happened, but if like one of the kids you taught, like junior high or high school, if they start coming out on the scene or something, actually as an artist and shit, that'd be crazy.
Bro, there's a couple that I know have some problems that I've like actually kind of like working with. So I'm really that's the kind of like next thing, man. Like I always will tell myself like the reason I guess I'll get the kind of like the why behind my name Aubs period, like the whole period. I always make sure people say the period at the end, but for me like it holds this idea of like a period denotes that something's ending, like something has an end. Like for me, just like doing stuff as an artist and all this creative shit, it's kind of a reminder to me, just like knowing that like what I do art wise and all that stuff, it's always gonna come to an end. Like it doesn't last forever. Like it might last a pretty long ass time, but it's gonna end at some point. There's always gonna be a period. And after a period, like when you do writing and shit, there's always something that comes after the period. There's some kind of story that continues, or some kind of sentence that continues.
Yeah.
To me, I'm always thinking, okay, what the fuck am I like putting behind this period after I'm doing? Like who am I putting after this to kind of like be the run-on sentence, and then put their period, and have another dope ass dude have their shit, you know? And have this whole, have the fucking spoken word Quad Cities Bible.
The
Book of Aubs.
The Book of Aubs.
And when I'm done, it'll be the book of whoever. Yeah.
The Book of Aubs.
So yeah, I'm always looking for artists to kind of just like really kind of invest in and kind of like do dope shit, and kind of just do more shit that I do, and kind of just use my platforms and what I've kind of gained, and kind of bring them along and kind of polish them and have them kind of experience their falls in their faces, their failures and all that, and kind of wrestle with that shit and kind of use it to kind of make themselves better. So if you got that work, hit me up.
Yes.
Aubs, period.
Now where do you see from now, what's the future look like for you? Do you want to like be doing your artistry full time, or is it gonna be like, are you looking to be like a educator full time, or or educate and while continuing your art as well, or? Yeah. So
last week I went to this poetry slam in Cedar Rapids, super dope ass poetry slam. Like those dogs came to fight. Like I got third place somehow, fighting by the edge of my teeth. But the guy who hosted it was this cat named Universal Love. His real name is Christopher Sims, but he's a poet super OG. He's been doing poetry for 40 years. It's been a full-time thing for 40 years.
Damn.
But for him, what he's kind of like, how he's kind of made it happen, for kind of like what I've kind of seen from like just watching him and stuff, he's been doing poetry, like he's been doing poetry slams, poetry events, teaching workshops as well, writing books, making records, kind of like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like, I think for me, if I want this to be full-time, I have to be able to like be in a place of like always exercising all these spaces in front of me, like exercising every department that I can. So like I definitely see myself doing it in the future. There's been a great stride this year, like the greatest strides I've ever seen, like with teaching workshops, writing books, also doing merch too. Merch is gonna come pretty soon next year. Really good, like really awesome stuff. But just exercising all these things and kind of just putting them in motion. I'm really kind of seeing like how it's gonna become a thing. So like in the future, that's kind of what I want to be able to do. Just kind of be able to do that. Be able to live comfortably, not like make it any like big shot kind of shit. Just be able to still live in the Quad Cities. Unless I find somewhere else to live, just continue to do my thing and just kind of influencing cats and having cats influence cats and shit.
Hell yeah. It seems like you're building a strong foundation of like a steady, good path to be on to achieve all that shit. Yeah, that's fucking great.
It's been hard work, but it's definitely proven to pay off. You know. Just taking patience.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great patience, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, if people want to get more of Aubs, find out some more work, get a hold of you, where they go?
All right. Like I said, the Facebook AUBS period. That's my artist page. You can also Facebook Roaring Rhetoric. That sounds weird when you try to say it.
Say it 3 times fast. Roaring Rhetoric.
Hey, that's a challenge. We can do that. Like,
if you can do that, come out to the poetry slam.
Exactly. Submit something. Yeah, but Roaring Rhetoric is another page that you can like to kind of keep up with like a lot of the shows that we put on through Roaring Rhetoric and a lot of shows that happen in the Quad Cities too. That we put on or that other people put on. So that's another thing to follow. And Ode to the Underdog if you're into podcasts. So those 3 mediums, and if you're an IG user, Poetic Aubs with the IG. So.
And you don't have a personal website yet, do you? Or do you plan on doing that?
Yep, that's coming next year as well. So my friend who I'm like working with, or my mentor, is putting that up. So that'll be up pretty soon here too. Yeah, so you can check out stuff on that as well when it's up. But until then, those social media outlets are the plug.
Fuck. Big things coming.
Most def.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, this is dope, man. I'm glad I got a chance to be a part of the podcast USA Olympics.
Hell
but it was no competition where it's all love.
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah, and this is we got a little announcement, a small announcement. Dun, dun.
Okay.
Yes. This is going to be the last MOBCAST in this studio.
Feng shui.
Which is a little sad.
Yeah, this is a dope spot. Man.
It's nice and cozy, but
yeah,
the new spot will suit us better.
Yeah, man. Just moving up, man.
New studio coming soon. Hopefully we'll not be gone too long.
Yeah.
We'll be back at you soon.
Yeah.
Be dropping more shit too. MOBCasts, Mob Vision, more music, more art. Fuck. Yeah. It's coming. All right. Until next time, folks. Aubs, period. Thank you again, sir. Peace out, motherfucker.